So today I wanted to work on another transformer, except this time I want to make it a car to the scale of these wheels. So the first thing I'm getting down is this kind of like race car shape. I do want it to be normal steering, which is going to complicate things a little bit, but if I have to go ahead and delete that, make that there, or you know what, I don't want to delete that because I want this to be a 1x3. No, I want it to be a 1x2. Okay, I need to think about this. If we have a steering hinge here, that can be the shoulder joint for the arm. So if I need to connect this on the outside to connect it to, like, the rest of it, the top here then needs to connect to the back here. Because if we have this here, I want to add a piston. Because I'm going to build it in car form and then make it transform into a bot. Go ahead and have that there. Then the arms will be able to pop out, because these will be on start position 0. We'll make like X toggle, auto reset. And that way when I press X, the arms will go out. You know what, let's just do this the right way. Start position, because I want it to be not the full position when extended. If we're going to do start position like 0.7, which I was not typing, or like, let's do 0.4, I think 0.4 will do better. And then that'll be them in the extended position, and then I need a NOR gate that will be on to start, causing these to go in, but because they're on auto reset and this is on toggle, they will no longer go in when we press X. They'll go back to their starting position. So that way they go in, and then when I tap X, they extend out to their correct position, tap X again, and they'll go back in. And then we have to build some kind of hood here. I think I'm going to go for maybe like a design using these two, and then these. And then we can, yeah, I think that works, but now we have to have a way for this to become the head. And I think what I'm going to do for that is pull out some of the steering hinges right here and here, set those on X, toggle not hold position because I want them to be able to go back, high speed, lowest steering help, because steering help just slows it down the faster you're going to try and help with steering, but I don't think that's, like, ideal. So then, what's happening there? Okay. It's folding out from too far of a point. So it was folding into the pistons, which it didn't like. I can fix that. Bring this back over here. And then it'll be like that, and I press X. And it extends those out. And then some kind of a head should be there, which means that this would benefit from actually being the logic block not connected there. And then we can put the 2x, like, one there. Oh, and then, I guess I can connect those with these. I could. And then we have, like, the kind of like the front to a car, and then it will fold down, and the pistons are not going out, like, at all. I think these are overlapping with the pistons as well, so we're just gonna go ahead, like, go like that. I can replace this with a logic block later, but just because one of the faces has the zero collision, I'm gonna put a logic block there. And then X, the pistons go out. I need to lower the damping on them down to like 0.10. And then we can have this. Okay, so I'm gonna add the gyros to it now. And I only want these active while the car is in bot form. which means what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one gyro here, and then switching from my prior design for an angle sensor gyro, I'm actually just only going to use one of these. I'm going to have it be 355 width, direction 180, so we have that little gap at the top, and I'm actually going to rotate this that way so that the gap is right there, so that when it's upright, that'll be correct. And then on measurement, and then this running straight into the gyro. Here, let's give the gyro a little bit of strength. Actually, no, we're not gonna run it directly into the gyro. We're going to run it into an aggregate gate on product, and what this will do is it will multiply all of the inputs going into it, and we're gonna have this thing set to X on toggle. So if like we're not pressing X, if we haven't toggled X, it'll multiply it by 0 from this, but if we have, it'll multiply it by 1, and that means that we can just hook it up directly to this. And then it's not triggered until then I press X, and the gyro is backwards, and is also low strength. But if I go ahead and put like 4 strength into that, and now I press X, it will flip up, the arms will go out, we can have another gate, or we can just use this one for testing purposes. Okay, we're in a car. That's flipped 180, so I want to rotate those. And then, at this point I am just going to, like, get a lower angle than full one, because I want these to be able to turn for the car, but I don't want this to have to, like, be that high of an angle. So we're going to put, like, 0.7 into that. Pull that up. And now they're just going slightly out. Okay. And now what we can do is this exact same setup, duplicate that, and then do it for this direction. I'm going to move this over down here, raise those up, put these the correct orientation for doing that, and then I have to wire this into the aggregate, and I have to run this into the aggregate. I actually don't need a second one of those because I already have a sensor to see if I'm toggling X, so I can just run that into both aggregates, put that in there, which is a different toggle for X, and then both. Okay. What is the issue here? I didn't run the aggregate back into that. Okay. And then we're all stable. Cool. And then I moved up I moved these up closer to the car. One of them is on this side, one of them is on this side and the back, because this just needed to be in the middle. And then if I press X, then those fold out. Now what we have to do is we have to connect this somehow to where is it? Here, I'm gonna use paneling here, or rather piping here, to get a section there that I can then connect with a bar over here. I don't mean to right click there. And then we can have the rest of the arm, like right here. I'll only do like one of these so that we can get the servo. I'm gonna face the square side of the servo out like that. Put that in there, and then all we have to do is duplicate that right there. And the interesting thing about connecting this to the wheel is that it means that if we turn, it will turn the entire arm, which is an interesting conundrum. I might end up just using this for turning. And then just completely changing what these do. There's not an easy way to change what that does. I think I'm going to keep that like that, and then just disconnect the controls. Disconnect the controls on U2. And then I don't have any engines, but I think that's an issue if the pistons need to be faster. We'll go 30. This is being really weird. Okay. Everything seems to be working now. It just needed like a couple repairs. So that's fine by me. If I turn left, I can turn right. I need to unhook the controls from this. And then I need to hook that up to more forearm, which will be done on the inside, right there and there, which should just slot into here just fine. And then I need an engine. The engine can run while it's doing other tasks. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't care if the engine is also hooked up to something else. I can put 2 engines right here and here, though. And then... I kind of want to get a rotating servo for right here. Do a 180 on this. And then I want it to be toggle on X, double speed, not a ton of damping. Repair that. It really is not wanting to collide with the engines there, which is perfectly fine. I can move those, because the engine can be a part of right here, where we will have the rest of the car flip. And then, we're getting close to where I want to put the back wheels. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm also going to have these flip 180. One of them is going to be negative 180, so -2. And then when X is pressed, that flips around and folds out. I can work on that, like, timing in a second. And then we can have... We have some space going this way. We do. But we don't have a whole ton. And I don't think we have enough to for this to actually be 180. So I'm gonna remove that. Turn these back into normal servos without the 180 really quick. And then I guess I can probably just have that directly into here, which can lead off into the spoiler. Because, like, I can have this wing here. And then that can work for that. What does that look like? It does look like a wing. I kind of want to delete both of these, put these in by a block, connect this up with a rounded 2x1 instead, delete that, duplicate these over here, connect them up like that, and that, and then I could totally just have a wheel here, couldn't I? I might be able to. I'm gonna see if it frees out. Seems to be fine. I need to remove the controls from these. But putting a wheel there and having it clip doesn't seem to be detrimental in any significant way. But while I'm at it, I might as well mirror over some of this stuff, which we'll just keep duplicating this, and then these two can face inward. The flat side can be out for that. Okay. And then that should just attach right onto there. And what is this back part doing? That back wheel is just not having as much fun. So I think we can go ahead and just delete that part there. I'm going to delete these two as well. And replace it with that. And that. Why are you having a hard time? Is the pipe clipping into here? Because we can fix that. We can put this gyro, like, in a slightly different spot. Let's put the gyro there for now. I can move it after. Yep, that seemed to have been the issue. And then I had a free block of space up here, so I can move this. Or, you know what, I don't even have to move that part. I can just move the gyro into the space right here. And everything should be fine. Spawn that off there. It can drive around. It is a little bit clunky, as one would expect, but I can work on that in a bit. And if I press X, it folds out. I need these to rotate down by 90 degrees on each side. On X on the toggle, and then one of these is going to be speed -1, and I didn't set those to toggle somehow. Set that to toggle. I can do that with a logic gate in a minute. But now we kind of have, like, the legs started, we can finish the legs with the spoiler, and we have completely forgotten to do the head, which I was gonna do. The head can be something very simple for right now. I'm just gonna do that, because that should pop through. Yeah. It's a little bit small, but I don't think I care yet. Because the head can be... I'm just gonna make the head a block right now. That might break it. That did break it, because it has to be not connected to the top part. I can just have these be the head for now. And then we have long arms, and then what I want to do is... I want to have a hinge here, so that way the leg can fold out. The problem with putting it on this one is that this is rotating from here, and wouldn't be able to, like, connect back to this back portion. So I think what I have to do is I'm going to have this on the front section, connected through there, and then connected again on the back here. And then when this rotates that way on X, it can go 90. And I want it to actually rotate negative that. So I'm going to try it now. And what that can then look like is... not that. A 1x3 just for now. We'll have to make it different because, like, it has to not connect to the sides, but we can have that extend out like that. And then we have any kind of leg. That looks pretty good. And then I can go ahead and connect that with a pipe And then a really neat block for hitboxes is the speed sensor, because it doesn't have a connection on this very end bit. Which means that even not connected to anything, I can have this setup here. And you can even see now, the speed connector, like, the speed test thing isn't connected. Then I can go like this. Connect that there. Duplicate this panel. And then X will be extending out legs, yeah. Now you might be thinking that the spoiler looks a little bit tall, and I was thinking that too. So what I'm gonna do is find this logic block. I can relocate this later. I want it to be a NOR gate, or you know what? I can use the NOR gate from earlier, set to -1 to power both of these, and then make this one -1 of that. And now it's a little bit more acceptable. And then I switched this to be the front part, just by like moving around which one was here and which one was there. And then that's not a bad spoiler. And then if I go ahead and press X, then everything unfolds. I want to split this back roof thing into some on the arms, some on the middle torso, just so that the like torso looks a little bit less boxy. Let's put that there. Yeah. And then the torso's a little less boxy. And now I just have to program in some kind of walking and make sure that it's going to work. Yeah, I think most of what's left is programming. For some reason, that's happening. I don't know why this arm is, like, spinning up. I'm gonna try disconnecting that entirely, just having it, like, move out, not angle out. And then connecting these to right here and here. Okay, I'm gonna have to move out a little bit more then. And I have to fix this bouncing somehow, because Unity has this really funny way of having infinite elasticity. And then for right here, there's a little gap right there. I'm just going to use a little L bracket there, and right there. And then that fills in that space pretty well. I can also use a little panel here and here. I don't mind seeing the hinges there, but that can cover up the wheels. And if I press X, I need to extend out these to be like 0.6 on start. Okay. And then I think I want to add a delay to these, just because they keep, like, clipping. The delay shouldn't affect when retracting, but it should affect when doing that, so we wait for that. Okay, and then those fold over. I think I can cover up this middle part and then just have a little hole for the tires. And then everything folds out. And then I should be able to drive this, and then transform in a way. I need to make the gyros a little bit less sensitive, I think. Because, like, the gyros are so sensitive to the motion that they kind of just snap everything. And then this works. Still has the infinite elasticity and energy problem, but it's fine. I think to solve the random bouncing problem that Unity has, I'm just gonna use suspension here. And then the connection here can be, like, I could put this into this. And then put there, and yep, those absorbed that bounce perfectly. And then I can go ahead and drive off. It's a little weird. with the gyro turning. But it's fine. And then that can jump out like that. And that's pretty good. Went ahead and moved those from there to there. Made this rounded, and now I'm gonna make this right next to it, another rounded. Actually, I'm gonna do rounded to squares here, which is one of my favorite new blocks. I really like this new block. And then that should shape out quite nicely. Then there it is. And then driving works great. I do have to program walking. This is where I'm going to switch these from X on the toggle there, from one of the logic gates, maybe not that one, maybe, yeah, I have one that's X on the positive right here and here. I can just plug those straight into there. Works the same, but it means that I can use those for walking without having to deal with the toggling there. And then a very basic walking system. I'm going to go to here and here, press it on W. Actually, no, I'm not going to have W, because I'm going to add another... Okay. Well, I want an OR gate for W, and I want a product gate so that it's only while W and M transformed. And what that's going to look like is over here, X on toggle. That means that it's going to be like that. And then this on W into here. And if this is the product, it'll be 1 times 1 if the X and the W is pressed. And then that'll run into both of these. And then if I press W, it's only the wheels. And then if I press X, now we can power both of those. And then these two are just gonna be 0. I keep clicking on it and then it doesn't type. 0.7 duration, 0.7 pause, and then one of them is going to be on a 0.7 delay. And then if I go ahead and press X, run that into them, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. And then what all of these two are going to be is negative, like, 0.6 from that, or negative 0.7 from that. And we're going to go left foot here, right foot here, and what does that look like? Nothing, because those are already at its max. Okay. And then, you know what? Because I want to increase the angle, I'm going to go over here, unwire these from right there, and rewire in the 0.7 ones, which is... Oh, that's the wrong... I just did the wrong thing. Which is going to look like this, and then that'll only set them to 0.7, which means that... okay, these only need 90. So I think the total on that one is like... What is... Well, 180 is like 70% of 250 something. What is 90? Like 128, I think? 128.5? I could have sworn I just typed 5, but you know what, it's closer to 6, so I should round that anyway. And then pressing X will result in them, yeah, being 180 degrees. But then hitting W will result in that. Okay. I also saw that it was kind of, like, reversed from what I wanted. So I'm gonna trigger them in reverse. Or... No, because it doesn't matter what it is. Like, the timing doesn't... Like this isn't gonna change, because these are set to be the same direction no matter what. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna make this -1, and then... X... That is not fully intended. I'm gonna be completely honest there. I didn't fully intend to go to negative 0.3 because of that. Which means that I'm gonna set these back to positive 1, unhook them from both of these, and then have the negative one, that is negative by default, run into them. And then X. I completely forgot to run each of these into their negative gate, like that. Oh, that's less bad. I can change the power of this, though. I can make it negative 0.4. And then that's what that's gonna look like. And then on the left positive, I need this one to activate. On the right positive, I need this one to activate. No, that's not quite the case. What do I need for that? When it's going left, the right one is going forward. That's a little confusing, considering that this runs into this one. Oh, because it gets flipped over. Okay, I see the shenaniganry. It's because it makes 180. And then I might want to decrease the speed of these just by a little bit. Negative like 0.5. And then normal 0.5. And yeah, I'm gonna need a turning. I'm gonna need something to turn, so it's not just like stepping in place. And then when this one is active, I want to raise the same knee as it is. And when this one is active, I'm gonna raise that knee. I am glad that was the correct tuning to start, because I don't think I was gonna be... Like, I don't think I could do it inverted without extra blocks. And now it's slipping a little bit, which means that I'm going to turn up the stiffness on these to like 1.2 per. Good, we're stopping the infinite bounce. We're kind of just hopping in place, which would be helped by having some kind of damping. If I can move these up here, and then find a spot for all of the logic later. This doesn't really have a spot. Where can I put the turning thing? I've extended this out by a block, which I don't think is too bad, and put a gyro in there. And then if I press X, and then W, It's going back by so far. Okay, add some friction pads, and it's kind of working now. As much as I would hope for the spoiler of legs. And then if we go ahead and put these into there, then I just need to find a spot for 2 more logic gates, which fortunately we have 2 blocks right there and there. Add these on right there. Add this on right there. And then that should be all of the logic. And then I gave the servos on the arms a little bit of control. And then we can walk with it. It's not, like, the best walking, and you could definitely tune it further, but given the small scale, I think it's fine, and it drives, like, pretty fine. So that is going to be the end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed, and go make Transformers. See ya.